So like all of these fears and all these limiting beliefs come into play when we go to do the next thing, when we go to level up, and we have to do what you say is the deep work of, okay, what are my limiting beliefs? What are some things that are holding me back from taking this thing that could change the life of my family and could change my legacy? But because I, A, want to fight for the position of the victim, B, want to protect myself from hurt, or something in between, we don't do it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Level Up with Larry and Leo, where we turn challenges into opportunities and dreams into reality. I'm Larry, and this is the co-host Leo.
What's up, everybody? I'm standing in the middle of this parking lot in the middle of Atlanta here telling you that if you are enjoying our episodes, if you're finding value in our content, we have a special request for you today.
That's right, Leo. We pour our hearts into creating this podcast, and we share our entrepreneurial tips, strategies, and insights with you all, and we want to keep bringing the best content possible.
But we need your help! We need your help, man. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button and joined our community, do it now. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear our latest stories and strategies.
Plus, subscribing helps us grow and reach more people just like you. It's a win-win. Your support means the world to us, and it motivates us to keep leveling up our game.
Don't forget, hit the notification bell too, all right? You're always going to be in the loop with the new episodes drop. We release new content every Thursday at noon Eastern.
So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button now, and let's continue this journey together.
Thanks for all your support, everyone. We can't wait to see where this journey takes us next.
Until next time.
Peace.
Welcome back, everyone. You are tuning into another episode of Level Up with Larry and Leo, where we transform challenges into opportunities and dreams into realities. I'm Larry, and as always, joined by the co-host Leo. Today, we are sharing our personal opinions on the most impactful business books that we've read. Leo, it's great to have you here for this discussion.
Man, this is going to be fun, all right? I heard a long time ago, if you are going to be leading, you need to be reading. And I believe that to the core.
It's all about personal development, education, self-education. It doesn't stop once you graduate college. It doesn't stop once you graduate high school. You always have to be leveling up your skills, and the best way of doing that is finding valuable concepts that can help you change your mind. And when you change your mind, you can change your reality. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We both are really big into reading, and we both can testify that some of the books that we've read have been game changers for our business. And I have some very specific ones that I can point to where I could say this concept really helped me in terms of the way that I approach my business, and it really made a big difference. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to give you the first crack. We're going to both go through our top three, but let's dive in. Leo, what's the number one and the most impactful business book that you've read?
Oh, man, we start from number one. I thought we were starting from number three.
Oh, number three.
Let me start from number three.
Start number three.
Number three is Good to Great. It's a book I read in college. It was assigned by my professor, Dr. Pettigrew. I know you're out there somewhere, probably retired. He was also my mentor in college. Good to Great, getting the right people on the bus and getting them in the right seats. Because you might have the right person in your business, but they're not in the right position, completing the right tasks to fit what they're gifted to do, and how good can be the enemy of great. Really good stuff, really, really good stuff to kind of teach me not to rest on my laurels, because at one time, Blockbuster was the king, right? And Netflix offered them a partnership of some kind. They're like, nah, I'm king. I don't need your partnership. And now, I think there's only one Blockbuster left in the world, and that's just like a novelty. But the company is gone. So Good to Great. Love the book. Love everything that was taught in the book. It's something. Now I don't read it every year, but I've read it multiple times. I have it as audiobook. I have it as a physical book. That's number 3 on my list. Good to Great.
Good to Great. I've read it as well. The concept from Good to Great I actually have a document in my Google Docs that's based off of this concept calling and it's called the flywheel. And that to me is a great visual or a great idea, this idea of figuring out, like, having, let's say it's a funnel that you're going to develop for your business, or something that's going to really drive the growth of your business. The flywheel concept, it's basically, you start off, it's really difficult to begin to push it, right? But when your team, the right players on the right bus, all get in the same direction and say, this is the flywheel, this is what we're going to drive, whether it's a particular funnel that you're running. So, you have your top offer, and then you dig down to your later offer, and then also offboarding client, like having a really specific system, and just having this flywheel. After a while, it begins to spin itself, right? And that's when you begin to see that compound growth, that growth that's really going to allow you to go to the next level. And that, to me, yeah, Jim Collins, Good to Great, absolute classic. Really, definitely recommend. If you haven't read it, if you're a leader, if you're a business owner, if you're a pastor, whatever it is, like, that
Yeah.
is a absolute must read.
Ooh, pastors need this. You hear me? After you done with reading Romans, after you done with reading Acts chapter 3, pick up Good to Great. I really think it'll bless your organization. I really do. Like if you absorb what it's saying, because the shortcoming I think we have in ministry is that sometimes we find a talented person or a couple of talented individuals and we want them doing everything. And that's a quick way to burn them out. And that, like, no, put them on the bus, put them in the right seats, and
Develop your flywheel. So, like, what the concept that you're going to use to grow the church. See, that's the thing. Whether it's church, whether it's business, like, you think it's just going to grow itself, right? Whether you are running a marketing agency, whether you're running a real estate organization, whether you're running a church, you have to figure out what is going to be the thing that grows this thing. Like, what is it that's going to allow this thing to grow? It does not just happen because you prayed for it. It does not just happen because you got this idea and you're constantly just trying different ideas, trying different concepts, trying different ads. No, you have to develop this flywheel. He even talked about the level 5 leader, and the level 5 leader is humble. The difference between level 4 and level 5 is humility, because the level 5 is willing to tell you what he does not know, right? He tells you exactly, he knows what he doesn't know, and he knows he needs the right people around. I actually heard, I listen to podcasts all the time, so I'm gonna just drop it as it comes in my head. I heard somebody who's a billionaire say the difference between being a millionaire and being a billionaire is not hard work. The only difference between a millionaire and a billionaire is the ability to leverage their network. They just know who to call for their various needs, and they're able to leverage those networks in order to continually, scale their companies. So knowing the right people, getting the right people on the bus, having the right system that's going to allow you to grow, that's what you have to develop as a leader. If you want your business to grow, your ministry to grow, it's not just going to grow by happenstance. You have to figure out what needs to be done in order for it to grow. That's your job as the leader. You have to figure it out. No one's going to figure it out. No one can come into your business. No one's going to show up in your business and say, man, I have this. You have to be the one that executes, whether it's through your team or just your effort in and of itself. You have to be the one that executes it. So That's definitely a very, very good book for us to.
Starting out strong.
Very strong, very strong. My number 3 in terms of books that business owners, that entrepreneurs have to read. Like, oh my gosh, this is such a great, amazing books, is The 4 Disciplines of Execution. The name of the author is Chris, I think, McConaughey or something
Yeah,
along
you
those
put me
lines.
on to that. Another secret is some books I don't get physical copies. I just get the audiobook from Audible. And you have another great resource. That you
Oh
can
my
put me on
gosh. When it comes to personal development and personal growth, there is a hack that you can use that will allow you to really dive into these books. Here's the crazy part: without you even paying for it at all. There's a app with your local library called Libby,
Yeah.
right? Not a sponsor of the show, which they don't even charge, so I don't know how they would.
Yeah.
But Libby is connected to your local local library, and they are able to help you, or you can get free audiobooks. A lot of the books that we're talking about today, you can get access to through Libby, and it's completely free. So there's no excuse. Like, Audible after a while can get expensive depending on the amount of credits that you get. I can say there are some books that aren't available on Libby that you might want to go through Audible. But if you're just starting off and you're just trying to grow and develop yourself, go with your local library. Getting a subscription through Libby, you're able to get access to at least 5 audiobooks a month.
Yeah.
So that's like a book a week that you can just listen to while you're going around, doing your thing. So
For a while.
if as you're on your way, because both of us, we are both very busy. I try to listen to an audiobook. I was going like once a week, going hard on audiobooks. Just had a baby a couple months ago, so not as hard right now, trying to get back into it. But definitely you want to grow your knowledge.
Yeah.
And Libby's a great option. It is free 99. You don't have to pay for it, and you can get access to the great books that are going to help you level up your business. So I can't think of a better
Great
tool that
solution.
you can use
Yeah.
that could just get you started.
But I remember you put me on to the disciplines of execution and talking about the whirlwind. And the moment you told me about that, I grabbed that book, man, and it really helped me kind of decipher what's really necessary beyond the clutter.
Absolutely. I want to give you a brief synopsis of what these 4 disciplines are. They are, to me, one of the most brilliant concepts when it comes to executing from an organizational standpoint. So basically, the first discipline is figuring out your WIGs, your wildly important goals. So the author recommends that an organization should only have 2 major WIGs. So figuring out what those WIGs are, like what are the things that are really going to push us forward. Once you figure that out, then you create your measures, so your lag measures and your lead measures. Your lag measures are the results of what it is that you're doing. So a lag measure is, I weigh 250 pounds, right? Or I was 300 pounds, now I weigh 200 pounds. That's a lag measure. The lead measure are, what are the things that you had to do to get to that goal. So that's when you get to the calories. That's when you get to the working out, all of the various things. So figuring out what are the lead measures that are going to get you the lag results. That's really the next step. So that's the second discipline. The third discipline is having a clear scoreboard. So having a scoreboard up that everyone can see, whether if, especially if it's you and a team, you want to have a scoreboard that everyone can see, are we winning or are we losing? Right? Because people want to know on a team, like the reason why, if you look in sports, there is such a high level of intensity on the basketball court, on the football field, is because everyone can see the scoreboard.
And it's proven. It's proven that you do better when you see the measurement. Like if you wake up every morning and you weigh yourself every morning, you're gonna manage your weight better. Like if you see that number every morning, you're gonna manage your weight better. You're gonna make better decisions.
If you're in business, Find a way to make a visual representation for your sales. How many sales, like not just how many sales that you've closed, but how many calls have you made or have
Yeah.
your team made?
How many are in the funnel?
How is, if you're running an ad, go into the Meta Business Suite and get the chart, like see, how is this ad doing, like be able to actually analyze the results of the things that you're doing is really important, because if your team, you got to make sure that it's visible, that everyone on your team sees the scoreboard for the particular wigs that you all decided on. So it's important to have the right wigs. So figuring out the right wigs, figuring out what do we need to do to get these results, and then having a scoreboard that everyone knows whether or not we're winning or we're losing. And then the fourth discipline is the discipline of accountability. Having a weekly WIG meeting where everyone comes to the table and they say whether or not they did. Everyone has a particular lag responsibility, right? Everyone has a lead responsibility, right? So everyone is contributing towards those lead measures, and we all get together and we say, did you do what you said you were going to do? Everyone's accountable because everyone wants to win. So having that, and it doesn't have to be for our organization, it could be just for you and your family or whatever, whoever is on your team helping you to get that goal. But man, just those concepts, those disciplines of execution, if you just did that and you just said, for this year, this is what we want to do, and then break it down into those steps, it's just gonna allow the level of focus and intensity that you would need in order to get the results that you're wanting. I've implemented many of these different concepts into my organization, and I've seen great results from it. So I definitely recommend picking this book up. Like, I couldn't recommend highly how important this book could be to really keep you focused on the goals that you have.
Yeah, yeah. I 100% agree. And it trains you not to look at the results, because the results shouldn't be a surprise if you're doing what needs to be done to garner those results. If you're feeding
I
the
mean, I
company.
think we've both of us with our ministry backgrounds know, like, we prayed all night for a packed house, and you're kind of throwing a lot of stuff against the wall to get people into your building, or getting a certain ad to perform. But it requires, like, this shows you that the results that you have control over those,
Yeah.
right? And if you focus, you'll begin to see those results. So let's dive into our second books, Leo. What do you have for your second book?
Ooh, wee. Okay. So this second book, I'm gonna call it Audible, and I'm gonna have a honorable mention. So this second book, I just picked it up. Not through with it yet, but it's kind of revolutionized how I approach negotiations and presentations. And I think even pastors, ministers, evangelists can learn from this. It's called Pitch Anything.
Mm.
And the author is a Wall Street guy, financial guy. What he does is he just raises money from accredited investors. As people with, who make 250 or more a year, or have $1 million net worth. Most of the time, both. So his approach is through the brain of the individual. It's called Pitch Anything. And he talks about the crocodile brain, which is basically the fight or flight. That if you have a long presentation, the crocodile brain will discard it quickly. It has to be intriguing, but not cause fear. He talks about how to navigate through the crocodile brain, the middle brain, and then your fully developed brain, which is typically how we communicate when we do presentations, when we try to pitch something, is we go forward with the analytical type arguments that people will tag out on. and he gives some tools and some techniques. One of the fortunes he was pitching one guy who's one of the big heavy hitters, and during his pitch, he saw the guy turned over the pamphlet that he gave about the presentation, about the investment, flipped it over, and he was drawing around his hand.
Mm-hmm.
He was literally making classroom turkeys on his hand on the sheet of paper. That's how disinterested this guy was in his presentation. And he talks about the frame and how the stronger frame will win. And he talks about how you go into the frame and how he broke that guy's frame is because he's coming from a frame, powerful and so on. He talks about how to say things that are purposely uncomfortable to people and cause them to react to it. So he said, let's stop everything. How much for that piece of paper, for that drawing? That's high class art right there. How much is it?
Right.
No, let's stop everything. How much is that? I'll give you $100,000 for that right now. I'll give you know what I mean? So that totally is like, whoa, wait. This is not the right type of attention that I'm wanting. And that allowed him to recapture the decision makers' attention and continue forward with his presentation. Now he has everybody like, I'm only halfway through. He drops some jewels. He talks about the power frame, which is one of the most powerful frames. Like if you get pulled over, the cop has the power frame, and you could do everything by the nice guy frame. Like, hey, I'm usually a good driver. Yeah, could you let me off with a warning? And authority typically takes the day, and he teaches how to establish authority, how to keep authority, and how to approach people that are cocky, that are high-minded, people that are analytical, that only want the numbers. They don't want the intrigue. They don't want all that. But part of getting the pitch is to develop intrigue. So pitch anything, anybody in any dealing with people, not just in sales, but if you deal with people, this really would give you a great foundation on how to approach conversations. And it'll even help you craft your sermon because it talks about how to put intrigue and how long the human brain is able to keep the human brain's attention. Yeah. So all the times that people go to church, say church was great, and they ask me, what was the sermon about? I don't know, but we had a time. All right? So that tells you that at one point the mind tuned it out.
Yeah.
That I put that as number 2 right now. I'm loving that book. I'm just now getting through it. Pitch anything. You can find it wherever books, audiobooks are available. It's not a new book. It's just new to me, and I'm loving what I'm learning from it.
I definitely added that to my list, so I'm looking forward to diving into that. Never heard of it before, but
yeah,
definitely.
It's great. It's a great.
Definitely. I heard something. I'm just gonna say on a podcast. I'm not gonna give the
don't give them props. We ain't getting no props.
I heard it recently, and what you were just talking about reminded me of this. It was a redirect, like if you're in a sales pitch, right? And somebody tries to lowball you, right? So like, let's say you have a service or a product that is $10,000, and they say, "Will you take $7,000?" He said, "No, but I could take 15." And they always go back to his original number. He said he's used that same pitch anytime like there's like he's negotiating and the person tries to go lower, he always goes to a higher amount. So and he said
break the frame. So he says something like that too. So he'll go into pitch with somebody, and somebody will say, "Hey, I only got 15 minutes for you today." And he's like, "Oh, that's great because I only have 12." So that breaks the power frame, because then that power frame is him saying, "Yo, you got a short amount of time. Do your work, man. Get out of here." But now the power dynamic goes to him.
Yeah.
And he talks about how you get into meetings and the primary decision maker isn't there, and how to navigate that. Let's say, hey, where's Mr. Big Shot? And they're like, well, he's not available right now, but I'm sure he'll come in in some part of the meeting. He'll come in and say, well, I'll give him 15 minutes to get here, but after that, I really have to go. So we've all been late to meetings. I understand that, but we'll give him 15 minutes to get here. If not, we'll have to go. And if the 15 minutes goes by and he's not in there, get your stuff and get out. And say, hey, and then next time set the power dynamic. They have to come to you now.
Yeah.
Because you're offering something. You're not begging. You're presenting an opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to go in with that value and that power. And he said 9 times out of 10, they're going to be apologetic because they don't want to be perceived as that. But he says most of the time, somebody will find Mr. Big and bring him into the room so you can do your presentation and put everything aside. Because you already had the meeting set up. It wasn't a surprise thing. So he knew that was on the docket, and it's just a power play. And you have to turn that on its head.
Yeah.
So those are things that I think are really, really great to know.
That's what's up, man. My second book is a real heavy hitter. It could be number one, but Story Brand has the Story Brand by Donald Miller has so impacted my business. One, I'm a marketing agency, so I actually introduce these concepts to my clients when we're planning different marketing reveals and just different things in general. But even the way that I go about my business and getting new clients, taking these concepts from Story Brand and using them is so revolutionary, because the overarching idea behind the Story Brand is that really using marketing in a narrative and positioning your ideal client as the hero of the story. So a big example that could be used would be Star Wars. We all know about Star Wars. Luke Skywalker, he's about to go face Darth Vader. He comes across this little man by the name of Yoda who prepared him for that big battle. Yoda is not the hero. He's just a guide for the hero. And really, every business should position themselves as a guide and not the hero. And so many businesses, so many organizations want to be the hero of the story and not the guide. And that is the reason why they don't have a big impact, because people care about themselves. People care about what you can do for them. They don't care about you. They don't care about what you're dealing with. They don't care about what you're going through. They want to know how you can help them.
Gotta
If
preach.
you, if you can show them how you can help them,
Yeah.
that's how you're going to grow your business. It's not going to be about telling them how great you are. They don't care. They don't. They don't care about how anointed you are. They don't care about how helpful. In fact, people who it's so crazy. I just saw and this kind of this is and this isn't off topic. Kanye West, right? Who has a very checkered past, and he's got crazy just his whole persona now. Really, after I trace it back to after his mom passed. Once his mom passed, like something just happened with him. A brilliant guy, though. Do you know recently he just signed a major deal with Nike?
No.
After all of the stuff. I mean,
After being dropped by Adidas.
after being dropped, he just recently signed
I didn't even know that. That's breaking news to me.
a deal. Check. You could check the news. I think it's a multi-billion-dollar deal with Nike. Only reason I even bring that up. Most people would look at him and say, he's so his character, all of the various things that he's done. But even though he has all of those things going against him, he was able to position himself in that meeting where he can show Nike how he can help him. At the end of the day, Nike
Yeah,
said Yeezys is going to increase our sales.
yeah,
And that's the part I think that we don't realize, especially like in faith-based traditions and all of these various things, is we think you got to be perfect in order to add value, or you have to have like a clean record, a clean pass in order to actually be able to add value. At the end of the day, people don't care about a lot of the stuff that we think that they care about because we get so self-conscious, right? Well, I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. See, that's the problem. You're focused on yourself
yeah.
and you're not focused on the person that you're there to help. So I think that having adding story brand to your library and really reading through those concepts when it comes to the way that you market, even the way that you sell, is going to be a game changer because it takes the energy off of yourself and it puts it on to the people that you're actually reaching out to and that you're actually trying to help. And understand the type of hero that you can most help, your ideal client. That's what's going to allow you to really scale and build your business up.
Man, I'm looking at the news right now, and that's crazy.
What was the deal for again?
I don't see numbers here. I mean, I'd like to see it in some other places, but yeah, they said that he resigns with Nike because
It just
he was
goes.
with Nike originally back in '09, and then he left Nike for Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's what's in the ethos is that he's back with Nike.
It just goes to show you, man, like you could say whatever you want about an individual, even with all, because every person has their own. There's no, I guarantee you, if you get really close to Mark Zuckerberg, or if you get really close to Jeff Bezos and all of these really successful people, I guarantee you there's going to be things about their personality and things that they do that you can't stand. You get to know them, but guess what? It's not what they realize very soon, very quickly. And the reason they were able to scale is because their focus was not on the things that they fall short on. They put all of their energy in how I can help the people that I'm called to help.
That's great. But yeah, I mean, seeing yourself as the hero could be setting yourself up for failure. But if you see yourself as a guide, sensei of sorts, a teacher, an advisor, which is the position that I'm in, both as a real estate advisor, investment advisor in terms of real estate investing, and a business advisor. That is the role that I think brings the most value to your customer. At the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you advice based on where you want to go. This is the path that you should take, and this is the level of discipline, financial investment, um, whatever it's going to take to get you there. So, Luke, if you want to beat Darth Vader, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to harness the Force. You're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not a big Star Wars person. I don't know much about it. But yeah, so I 100% agree. I read that book a while back, got some jewels from it. But yes, I've since then, even before then, I always saw myself as like an advisor. Just I'm here to help you reach whatever your goal is and use whatever gift that I have to help you reach your goal. And whether that's in uh, real estate, whether that's in leveling up your business, like, I want to help you, help me help you to get you to whatever level you're wanting to get to.
I think the hard truth that entrepreneurs have to learn when they're in the role of an entrepreneur and they're working with a client, that your job is to help them. Their job is not to help you.
Yeah,
And anytime I get in my head thinking that they're here, oh, we're friends. We're cool like that.
Now you hired help, my boy.
You're only there to help them accomplish what it is.
Yeah.
And don't get upset when they treat you like that.
Yeah.
If that there are certain clients, we have a little bit of small talk, but usually it's about, are you doing what we're paying you to do?
Yeah.
and are you helping us reach a certain goal? And it's a hard pill to swallow when somebody buys your product. They don't care about the fact that you don't have enough money for your rent. They just want their product.
Yeah.
They want what they paid you for. So keeping that discipline, that mindset, because if anytime you lose that, you're going to get disappointed, because pretty soon, eventually the person that's paying you is going to remind you what they paid you for.
Yeah.
So
100%. Great.
that's massive. But why don't we dive into our number ones?
So number one on my list. Listen. This book is close to my heart for several reasons. Because it goes from business to personal. It covers a lot. I really like this author. It's by Gay Hendricks. No pause. Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, is my number one recommendation for any entrepreneur. The Big Leap. So The Big Leap talks about so many things that are found in other books, but it just puts it in a great package. Like, I go back and I read that book, or I listen to that audiobook at least twice a year.
Wow.
And that's been since 2019 or 2018. I think 2019. I've been listening to that book and reading that book over. So some of the things, I mean, there's so much. I implore you to go get it. Some of the things that I walked away with in that book is set your thermostat. So he talks about how we have a level that we're comfortable with in terms of how happy we allow ourselves to be, how happy how long we allow ourselves to be happy and content until we find something to moan and complain about and bellyache about. So I liken that to money. So everybody can relate to this. In your mind, you have a number that you have to have in your bank account to breathe easy. That could be $500, it could be $1,000, it could be $500,000. But you have a number that you have to have in your bank account to feel okay, right? Once your bank account goes below that number, you get very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You get so like you might not be able to sleep. You might have some anxiety. You might you're gonna go out there and get it. You're gonna grind to get back to that number that you're comfortable with. Like, whew, okay. It might be 1 month's bills. It might be 3 months. It might be a 6-month emergency fund. Whatever it is, you have that amount. So that's your internal thermostat as far as your finances. You have to be there to be okay. Yeah. And the same happens if your 500 mark or your 5,000 mark or your 500,000 mark. If you exceed that amount, your mind will react the same way unless you train it not to. Like, oh shoot, I got this much money. I got to get back to where I'm comfortable. Because right here, when I'm right here, I'm not comfortable. So you find ways to spend that money to bring yourself back to that comfortable thermostat. Because when you set the thermostat, if it gets too high, it'll cool it down. If it gets too low, it'll heat it back up, right? Mm-hmm. So your mind works the same way when you set the thermostat at that. So if your thermostat was set at 10,000 and now you got 100,000 in the bank, you're like, oh shoot, I got all this money. and then like if you don't train your mind, you're gonna look for ways to spend it. That's why a lot of times people who win the lottery end up more broke than when they started
Yeah.
because they don't take the big leap in their mind to change their thermostat. So that's one thing.
Wow.
Two, he talks about our capacity for happiness and how a lot of times when business is going well, we'll turn it around and have our family be like disrupted because we in our mind feel like we have to have some friction to fight against. Like I can't have all three things going well at once. That's like I can't have my family going well, my health going well, my finances going well. I can't have that, and you'll self sabotage. And he talks about some of the people that he saw and treated that were very successful in business but terrible at relationships because they would self-sabotage the relationships. So that's another thing that I learned from. So that helped me in my relationship, in my marriage, in my parenting. Another thing that he talked about is not spending time doing the things that you're not going to be a master at. He talks about the different levels of mastery. Right? And he gave an example of somebody who would charge, I can't remember the number, I think it's like $500 or $5,000 for a consultation for an hour. He was a business consultant. And he spent the afternoon trying to put a printer together on his network. And his neighbor came and did it. He spent a whole afternoon, couldn't do it. His neighbor came and did it in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was like, why did you spend all that time trying to figure this out? If you equate that to the amount of time that you would have charged somebody for that time, you could have bought so many printers and connected so many. You could have hired out this level of work that is not in your zone of genius. He talks about operating in your zone of genius. What is your identifying your zone of genius? Like that rings true to me, and now I could look at stuff and say, that's not for me. That's not in my zone of genius. I'm not gonna venture into that, right? So that's something that, I mean, there's so many jewels in that book, and he talks, for me, because I'm someone who's very risk averse, I was afraid to take big leaps and take jumps and try things. It allowed me to say, hey, if it's in my zone of genius, it will help me to, if it's in the zone that I'm operating at and I'm not yet at my genius level, let me learn from this experience. But there's so many other things. I think you read that book too. I know I recommended it to you.
I know I it's on my list. I think I did, but I feel like now I need to read it again because what you're
Bro, The
talking
Big
about.
Leap by Gay Hendricks, it talks about like our hidden fears.
Yeah.
And how when we grow up, if we grow up with siblings, we're taught not to outshine people, right? And this is something that helped me with my parenting. Like, I try not to tell my son to not do something so well because it will embarrass my other son, or vice versa, right? So I allow them to shine in their own field. Even if you can't do something as good as somebody else, don't have that someone else feel like they have to dumb themselves down or reduce their level of function to appease your sensitivities. And that's something that we do a lot in church, we do in business. And when we see someone shining, we sometimes think that they are just gloating. But no, they're operating at a high level. Let them shine. Let them shine. Them shining doesn't take away from our ability to shine too.
The big leap, it sounds like it's more of a mental leap than it is
Yes,
a
it's a
literal leap.
mental leap. They do have some strategies on how to manage your time. Oh, and he talks about Einstein time. And bro, there's so much in this book. There's so much in this book. You know how sometimes you could spend 5 minutes and it feels like an hour. Man, this is taking forever. And sometimes you could spend an hour and it feels like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how time, how time through our perception could be molded in a sense.
Yeah.
So something that you enjoy, when you're doing something that you enjoy, time flies by.
Yeah.
But when you're doing something that you hate, time drags on. And he talks about how he could use, bro.
What do they
Gotta
call?
read this book.
What do they call that? It's like time free. I forgot. It's like it's a big with athletes. It's like a certain zone. I can't even think of the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. Like you basically everything just kind of freezes and you're just
Yeah. So like time comes from you as much as you want it. Like you in a sense control how quickly and how slowly time moves based on your mindset and your approach to this time or this task or this function. Like when you're in the zone, and which comes from time blocking too, which is one other episode of time management. Like you could be in the zone of doing something and you knock out 4 hours of work and it felt like 5 minutes because you were
yeah.
and because you're focused. And he talks about removing limiting beliefs because we're giving all these limiting beliefs as a kid by our parents because our parents are trying to protect us from getting hurt. Right?
Yeah.
We're told not to do this, not to do that. Don't jump off the couch. This is an elementary example, right? Because you might get hurt. All these things begin to form a limiting belief around our mindset and our abilities and what is acceptable. Am I able to run a successful business when I've never seen anyone in my family do it at the level that I want to do it at? Am I able to do it without a college degree? Am I able to do it without a high school diploma? Bro, it's just, you got to read this book. And it also talks about how an argument is just two people fighting for the victim position.
Mm.
Like, if you're arguing with me, both of us are fighting for the right to be the victim.
Right.
So that talks about getting out of the victim mindset. Like, why are you arguing to be the victim?
Right. Right. What do you get from being the victim?
Exactly. And he talks about how him and his wife haven't had argument in forever because they realize that you've had discussions, but an argument is I'm trying to prove that you're the one that wronged me, and you're trying to prove that I'm the one that wronged you, bro. What is that gonna move the needle forward towards?
Nothing.
Let's talk about the problem, the solution, and how do we move forward.
Yeah.
Not just, okay, you first have to admit that you wronged me. Because it really doesn't matter. Whatever affliction was done was already done.
Yeah.
So go ahead, get that book, read that book. You'll love that book. I implored my wife to read the book. Because she doesn't like audiobooks.
Yeah.
I had a physical copy. I gave it to her. She read the chapters. We would sit down and talk about the chapters, and like we talk about Einstein time sometimes, and it's a really good book. It helps you manage okay, why am I arguing here?
Yeah.
I'm trying to be the victim. My feeling for her. Let's talk about it. Go get the book, man. But that's my number one. Like, you have to get. It even talks about receiving compliments, like how we a lot of times will, like somebody put a compliment and you,
Yeah.
like, man, you did a really great job on this. Oh, like you'll bounce off. No, accept that compliment, bro. You worked, you earned it. Accept it. Live in it. Don't try to push it off, but live in it. You can live in it and give other people credit, but don't discredit yourself and in order to feel some fake humility.
Yeah,
There's so much in the book. You gotta read it.
that's dope, man. We're gonna put all the links to these books in the description below. We'll definitely have that available. My number one that I've read and I'm actually it's on my list to reread again. It's called The E Myth. It's a very popular book in terms of business, and it's really helping me now more than it did when I read it before, because really the whole idea behind this book, and again I'll have the link to it. I can't give you the author right off the back, but really the whole concept is the author talks about the difference between basically starting a local coffee shop and the difference between a local coffee shop and Starbucks, right? And
What is it
what
called again?
the E Myth basically, what the whole concept really deals with is creating systems that can repeat themselves over and over and over again in your business. That's going to allow you to have continuous and consistent result.
Michael Gerber.
Yeah, Michael Gerber. Exactly. The really the whole idea is, and I think it's so important, regardless of the industry that you're in. If you want your business to, like, one, if you like, let's say you're wanting to eventually sell your business. In order for you to sell your business, you can't be the main driver of the business.
Yeah,
You have to create the systems that will allow for your business to run whether you're there or not.
yeah.
That's the difference between billion-dollar businesses and six-figure or million-dollar business, is the ability to develop systems, and systems that work whether you're there or you're not. I heard Donald Miller say in an interview, the one that did Story Brand, is your goal as a business owner should be to be able to leave for 3 months, like completely leave, and your business, like, no calling, nothing. You're completely out of the business, and your business is actually doing better than it was when you were there.
Better? That's tough, bro.
That's when you know you developed the machine. That's when you know you hired the right people. You got the right people on the right in the bus. You have the right systems, and sometimes you getting out of the way allows your team to really thrive.
Yeah,
You want to have such a good team that that when you let them fly and you're not there, they're actually going to be able to soar even higher because they're just that competent in their role and in their job. And obviously this is down the road, and this looks different depending on the industry, but I think this is the goal that anybody that is looking to eventually sell their business as a retirement option, or just somebody that's really wanting to make a big impact, you have to begin to think about systems that can run without you. And it's tough because it requires a different brain, right? Like, you have to begin to, like, think in terms of, like, step by step processes, training manuals, all of these various things, and looking for repeatable things that can happen on a daily to weekly to monthly to yearly basis that will allow for you to really begin to scale. But that's I think what any business owner, I don't want to create a prison for myself or create a place that I don't even like going to because it's so heavy. That's when you have to begin to, like we've mentioned multiple times, go from working in your business to working on it.
yeah,
And the way that you work on your business is by developing systems, and systems really solve your problems, right? If you find a problem, you have to develop a system that can allow that problem to go away.
yeah,
And the more that we do that, I think my goal is to be able to leave my agency for 3 months and it's running better than it was when I was there.
It's big.
Like there's more business being happen. All the clients are happy. All of the clients are doing well, and it's continuing to run. But it takes creating a machine, and I think learning those concepts in the E-Myth really will allow for you to do that, because he talks about what it takes to develop these systems. It's really like you're creating a franchise
Yeah.
in a sense. But I think that those concepts, those things that you learn, it helps you to see why certain businesses are successful and why some aren't.
Yeah.
And it's not because one is necessarily smarter than the other or even better. Like, you're not going to get the best coffee at Starbucks. They just have the best systems.
Yeah.
So that I think is really, to me, in the place where I'm trying to go, that material is extremely helpful in terms of helping me in the big picture, how, like, down the road, 3 years, 5 years, where do I want to take this business. I want a business that can operate when I'm not there.
Yeah.
Like, that's my goal, because time to me, like we mentioned in our last episode, time to me is more important than money.
Yeah.
Because I can make money, I know how to do that, but I can't make more time.
Can't do it.
And developing systems allows, basically, you're developing your time back. You're getting your time back. So that's, to me, is a game changer. Every business owner, ministry leader, it's the difference. It's creating systems that are going to allow you to really begin to scale.
Yeah. And, like the old adage is, good leaders tell time. Great leaders build clocks.
I think that's good to great as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, build a system that anybody could look at the scoreboard and say, "Oh, okay, we're losing right now, right? Okay, we're winning by 2." Like, anybody, there's something there to track our progress or how or where we're lacking. So again, anything that's measured could be improved.
And I think even tying into the big leap, you're like, doing better. That we should actually want. I think even sometimes as entrepreneurs, especially if it's our business, we're like, nobody should do better without me.
Yeah, you feel some type of way. Like, wait a minute, man.
Donald Miller mentioned that in the interview. He was like, I was actually kind of offended by how well they did.
Yeah.
And every leader, I think, deals with that.
And then talks about self-sabotage. You talked about in the big league. You talked about a leader who was already well off. He was selling his business, and he self-sabotaged negotiations because of one. Because he was supposed to stay on for 3 years, and they gave him one less week of vacation than what he was accustomed to. And he was selling it for millions of dollars, getting a 6-figure salary to stay on for a number of years, and he self-sabotaged that because it was, and he ended up, after a while, being able to sell the property. But he burnt that bridge. The things that he said was so egregious that the company that was going to buy his company out backed out. He was like, "No, we don't want to do business with you." That's crazy, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where that deep work and knowing, like, your worth is not in. We're taught that our worth is in what we produce, right? And that in and of itself reduces our ability to scale, because if everything is reliant on you and you being there, then as soon as you are not available, then the whole thing crashes. And so many people are now, if you die, God forbid, the whole company just goes down with you.
Exactly.
Because and then all those
You
people
are.
who
You're a
relied, all
solopreneur.
those people who relied on the paychecks and the things that they got from, now they have to go get another job because you wanted you are looking for affirmation from that,
Yeah.
when that's not where we should get our affirmation from. Like, we should have it, we should say it, whether I'm doing this business or not, I still have a lot of value and a lot of worth. So doing that deep work, I think, is going to be critical, even beyond the systems. Like, you have to be willing to step away and
Yeah.
allow it to work, and be okay with the fact that it does better when you're not there.
And that's part of the limiting beliefs, that we will hold back ourselves from reaching certain heights or taking certain leaps because of that. Like,
Yeah,
what if I do have 400 units of real estate, 400 doors?
yeah.
There's no way I could collect the rent from 400 doors every month. There's like, I have to bring people in to do it. Am I scared that they're going to steal from me? Right? Because I've gotten money stolen from me before. Right? So, like, all of these fears and all these limiting beliefs come into play when we go to do the next thing, when we go to level up. And we have to do what you say is the deep work of, okay, what are my limiting beliefs? What are some things that are holding me back from taking this thing that could change the life of my family and could change my legacy? But because I, A, want to fight for the position of the victim,
Yeah.
B, want to protect myself from hurt or something in between, we don't do it, and we
We
stick
create
where it's
these
comfortable.
false dichotomies
Yeah.
where we think, oh, if I scale, then someone's going to steal from me, so I shouldn't. So
Yeah.
you're willing to sabotage the growth because of this belief, when in fact,
Something that hasn't happened yet.
something that hasn't happened. And even if it does, let's say God forbid it happens, okay, now I'm not going to say that scaling was a bad decision.
It's your checks
I
and
just
balances.
I just need to create the right system to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that's so again, getting out of this victim mentality, or this idea that I have no control. You have a lot more control than you think. Like, you have to understand, you have to empower yourself and say, no, it doesn't have to happen for me. Or you start listening to people where, oh, I wouldn't do that because this happened to me. So you start
Oh yeah.
getting all of this negative, okay, that happened to you, that don't mean it's gonna happen to me.
Exactly.
So you have to, like, constantly keep that mindset that I'm in charge. Like, I have the power to control this thing, and this is gonna be, and this is the necessary risk that I have to take in order to go to that next level. And if someone does steal, okay, you let them go. You don't let it happen. You don't just let it continue to happen,
Yeah.
but you say, okay, what did I do or not do that allowed for this to happen? So putting it back on you, because if all the power is on other people, then you're always going to be in a sticky situation. Like, I don't blame the people that I'm leading or whatever. Like, I'll get upset, obviously, but like, I need to the buck stops with me.
Yeah.
There was something I did not do
That
that
needed to be
that
done. Set the standards. Set the checks and balances.
and I then need to go, I need to apologize to myself, and I need to apologize to my team. Like, hey, that was me, I messed that up. So that way they know I'm the one in charge.
Yeah.
Not just because this happened, I'm taking responsibility, and
Accountability.
this is what I'm doing to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. It's beautiful, man. Go out and read those books. I mean, I got some honorable mentions, like the the Miracle Morning is really good. Like I know a lot of my books tend to deal with self development, not more of the technical stuff, because all the technical stuff, if you can implement all the technical stuff, if you don't approach it with the deep work and the right mindset and the right approach and schedule and balance and counterbalance your life, you're gonna burn out. And that's another book that I read, The Burnout. Like, it's possible to do that when you're not fueling your why, right?
Yeah.
When you're just going through and doing tasks so man, go get these books, read them. You got look, just do one book a month, and maybe down the line we'll start a little book club where we could bounce ideas off each other and build as we go through these books. These are foundational
Yeah.
books in my business and in my life.
I think that's dope, and even scheduling a time for self development, having a set time where you say, okay, this is the time that I'm devoted to developing myself and getting these right, or just using situations. If you drive to work, instead of listening to music, listen to an audiobook. If you
Yes.
have time where you can do that, like you're never going to regret investing in your self development, because
Yeah.
that's what's going to
And
continue to
that's even if you're not wanting to be an entrepreneur. You're a better asset to the business that you're working in
hmm
by self-developing.
Oh yeah, I could tell when I remember even working at the churches that I've worked at, I would constantly read like books on church growth and other things, and try to find a way of bringing those concepts into our meetings. And that's super valuable when you have somebody on your team that's constantly like, hey, I just learned this, hey, I just did this, and I think this could be helpful for us. That is like a huge asset to any business leader or organizational leader, because you're obviously invested in the mission going forward. So
Yeah. And I want to say one last thing. Leaders are readers. That's it. And with technology now, we have audiobooks. But if you, which my wife is a big advocate of, if you could read a book, a physical book, it doesn't matter if it takes you 6 months to go through and
mhm.
highlight some things, circle some things. It does
Yeah,
something else to your mind.
my wife is more of a hard book person too. Like
That's just
I'm
me.
definitely more audio.
Me too, because I like to go through it, but I like for the books that really capture me. I
Yeah.
do have the physical copy, and I read through the physical copy. I circle stuff, I highlight stuff. I what is it called? Pig ear. I fold the edges of the pages that I find something that's really impactful in. So sometimes, sometimes I feel myself going down, and I'll automatically go to the big leap. And I was like, okay, what is it in my thermostat that is driving me to drive myself down?
Because the concepts that you learn, they're gonna come up, and you're gonna like remember.
Yeah,
Oh man, I remember reading that. Like, this is how I can avoid. Like, it's just so helpful. It just gives you such an advantage
yeah,
when you're constantly investing in yourself. Like, people who are like, no, that's not really gonna, like, you would be shocked at like what it's going to do for you when you invest in consistently growing in your personal life.
Let me say something controversial. Let me say something controversial. Now, what did they make punishable by death to slaves if they were caught doing?
Reading.
Oh, so if reading is not that, reading is so powerful, it could change the mind of a slave to be like, wait a minute, dog, you just
They,
like me.
I mean, we're now just realizing that slaves had their own Bible that took out so much of the
Yeah,
scriptures that we have now.
100%. So like, bro, read, read. Reading will open your mind to stuff that people aren't telling you, but they're exploiting and making hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars every day because they know how to navigate certain areas.
You,
Just reading is a powerful, powerful thing. And I know for in the United States, young boys and young men, they tend to not like reading as much as they like math and science.
yeah,
But to fully develop in math and science, you have to read. Read, 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 read. Even if you don't like it, even if you fall asleep when you read, like do it until your body's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
It makes the biggest difference,
Yeah,
because you're going to come across issues that you're not going to know the answer for, that if you were reading and learning, it's going to come to you when you need it the most, because there are times you have to make a decision and you want to make an informed decision.
yeah,
And the only way that you can do that is by consistently reading and making it a regular routine
yeah.
that's a part of your day.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. I really love this episode. I hope we added a lot of value and gave some good uh, stuff that people could go and grab and really impact them and their organization and their entrepreneurial journey, or their, what is it called, entrepreneurial journey, when you're
Yeah.
entrepreneurial mindset but you're in a 9 to 5 position.
Right. An entrepreneur. Yep, that's what they call it. Well, that's all for today's episode of Level Up with Larry and Leo. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more insightful discussions, don't forget to subscribe to
Subscribe.
the pod. Subscribe to the pod. And a special thank you to our sponsors, Next Level Media Marketing and
Yeah.
Kelvin Key Realty, for their support in making this episode possible. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Remember, no matter where you are on this journey, there's always opportunities to learn, to grow, and level up. Until next time,
Peace.
peace.
You see how sweet this is?
But you know what's really sweet?
You subscribing.
Subscribe now.
Peace.